I think it's time we talk a little bit about the changes we've been making to the tier list for Trickcal. Not only for the Apostles, because Apostles there is not that many changes, but I want to go over the artifacts and the runes, because we made a tier list for each of those, and I want to explain why some of these placements are there, so you guys can understand this a little bit better. Also, really important, regarding artifacts, I updated the website, so if you go into any character page, you will also have now some recommended artifacts. Now, this is really important to understand. This is just a couple examples. Every character can use 10, 15 different items depending on the situation. So use this only as a reference to see what type of items can work with those units. That's it. Let's jump directly into all of these changes before we jump into this. Hello degenerates, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today's topic, tier list for Trickcal Revive. Everything that has been updated. Hopefully this is big enough for you guys to see everything. I hope it is. So on the tier list for characters, there's not a lot of updates. The only thing that has really been changed is at the bottom of the tier list. Levi, Mayo, and Ifrit were moved from T3 to T4. Reason pretty simple, is just they are just underwhelming. Mayo can do damage, it's just that it's not as good as the other girls. Levi, the moment we got Hilde, became obsolete. You can use Levi instead of Rim or instead of Posher. It's a worse pick. It's a worse pick overall. The only reason to use her is if you really went all in on her early on and you have her fully built. Then, yeah, of course, keep using her. To me, it makes no sense because she is a pretty bad DPS that doesn't really provide much for the team. I would rather run Posher over Levi for the extra utility with the potatoes or Rim as a secondary tank, right? And then Ifrit, we thought she was going to be doing more damage, and then on the last raid that was for math characters, she wasn't really doing that good, so we decided to move her also to T4. That's the only changes on the tier list. Everything else remains the same for the most part. I want to go first over runes, because I think runes can be faster to talk about, or a little bit quicker at least, because there is not a lot of them that are really good or worth mentioning, right? So I want to go over why some of these runes are so good. We're going to start with the obvious. Runes have less value than items, than the artifacts. You cannot use them on PvP, you cannot use them on raids, you cannot use it like you only will use these runes when you are pushing campaign for the most part. So they will have always lower value than the artifacts themselves. That's it. Everything at T3 is not really worth using on any situation unless there is no other pick. They are just bad cards, either because of the price, either because of the amount of stats they provide, or just overall because there is way better options almost always, right? It's really weird to get 3 of these at the same time and nothing else. Same thing applies for the T2 runes. Some of these are not awful. Like, for example, I really like the Strange Elixir. If it's on the last wave, I like using this. It's a little bit extra damage to all of the enemies for 12 seconds. Again, it's not a fantastic rune, but they are still decent. Hence why the different rating from the other ones. Now let's go into the actual good runes. And I want to make a distinction. These runes overall are better than the T0 runes. But the T0 runes, if you are running a full personality team, 6 characters of the same element, they are the strongest cards in the game, by far. To me, they're not that good because I don't even use a full team of the same element. So I cannot use those runes. If you do not run 6 characters of the same element, do not even bother with those cards. If you are, however, obviously those cards, the Depressed, the Vivacious, Calm, etc., those are the best cards in the game. But again, only if you run a full team. So let's talk about the overall, depending on the situation, the actual best cards in the game, not counting those personality ones. The first one is going to be the Alice card. Previously, I had it at the T2 instead of the T1, but as I've been pushing on hard campaign and hell campaign, it's been a really good card. Like, the extra HP and SP is fantastic. The attack and crit rate is whatever, I don't care about that. I just like the HP and SP, and you can stack this up if you get multiple Alice cards, which is really nice. It's really nice. So that's the first card that is pretty good. Combat Master is another card that is really nice to get because it's a skill damage and also attack, and you can once again stack this up. So if you get a couple of them early on, it's really nice for the extra damage. The other card that I always recommend is going to be Random Coin. Random Coin, it's only worth using when you get it to 3 stars because it will guarantee you are getting 11 coins back. minimum, right? So you are always getting the amount you spent at the minimum or more coins. And the good thing is that this acts also as a reroll. Let's say you get 4 items you don't like, you use the random coin and you get the free reroll with extra coins. So it's a fantastic card. There is like no reasons to not be using it. The other card, before we talk about the rest, is gonna be Get Her. Get Her is a really cheap attack increase. It's only worth using on the last wave, because this applies only to the current wave. So let's say I'm on wave 5 and I use this and I get 17.5% attack. And you can stack this up. If you get 2 of this, it's almost a 40% damage increase plus the attack speed plus the crit rate. So you can stack this up and it's only 11 cost, which makes it a fantastic card to be using, honestly. And then the other 2 cards that also will act as a reroll, just like, for example, the random coin, are the Soda Capsule and the Strawberry Capsule. Not only they have utility, they will either heal you or provide you with SP, and you can also increase this, by the way, for more SP, but I've been lazy on leveling up my cards. They are super cheap and nice specifically for that, right? For like as a reroll that will allow you to see other cards. And then the other 3 cards that always are good depending who your main damage dealer is or what you need to do are Rearguard, Stealth Slacker, and Vanguard. This solely depends who you are targeting right now. Let's say I'm pushing Hell mode and I want my BB to survive longer, or my Chloe. I will use Vanguard because this is for the front row characters. If I want my DPS on the backline to do more damage, I'll go for Rearguard, or if you're targeting characters on the mid lane, then you want to go for a Stealth Slacker. All 3 of them are powerful cards, have a semi-high cost at 20, but still they are nice options to get. In my opinion, lower priority than getting Combat Master or the Alice card, but still pretty good cards to get. So that's basically for the cards and why they have these ratings. Now we can go into the important part, which is going to be obviously the artifacts. Artifacts, I don't want to be going one by one because we could be here probably for 3 hours. I'll try to make it as quickly as possible. First of all, these 3 items, all of them suck, not worth using almost under any circumstance. I mean, there is a few circumstances you could be using. For example, the Weather Arrow. I will use this if there is no other option and I cannot reroll because it's too expensive. I will pick this. It's still attack speed for a character, whatever. Same thing applies for the Rusty All. If I have nothing else to pick and I cannot reroll because it's too expensive, I'll put this on a DPS, some extra crit rate. It's fine. Combat Manual and Scale Armor are items that, for the most part, provide nothing. This is a pure defense and HP recovery without a passive for 17 cost. Kind of expensive for what it provides, not really worth it. And the same thing is for the Combat Manual. It will cost you 20 coins while only giving you some crit rate and some crit damage. Again, it's not the worst, but for the cost it has, there are just way better options. So in my opinion, not really worth using. When it comes to T2 items, all of these are already pretty nice. You can be getting them depending on what you're doing. The ones that you'll see more often being used is the Assassin Scroll. It's pretty good because it allows you to not being targeted every few attacks. The Elven one, because it's a nice item for your front characters to survive with an extra shield, and also increases HP recovery. For example, for Bibi, this is pretty good for her life steal. So for tanks, it's a nice item for the cost at 11, but it's not amazing. An item that I personally like, and I still need to do more testing because I don't think it's that good actually, is the Fanatic Mask. For tanks, if you have 2 good HP items, it's pretty good damage actually to be using a Fanatic Mask. Those are like 3 that I think are pretty nice to keep an eye on. Everything here is good. The BB item, the reason why it's a T2, by the way, because I think it's important to talk about it, it sucks ass. This is only good for BB, literally, no one else. Now, it's HP, it's defense, and it's crit damage. This works on any tank, but you need to fully stack this up. Right, so you need to do 20 attacks in order to fully stack this up. Unless you get this on rounds 1 to 3, it's not worth using on round 4 or 5 because you will not have enough time to fully stack. Again, it depends how much combat power deficit you are pushing, but in my experience, pushing like with almost 2 million deficit combat power is not being that great. If I see it, I'll put it on my BB. Outside of BB, never on any tank. There are a better options. So not really worth pulling for it in my opinion. Everything else here is decent. The only other item that I could consider moving to T3 at some point would be the Fluffy Vest, because the defense is good. Like, you can get this high enough. It's a lot of defense, but it's nothing else. There is no passive, no nothing. Semi-high cost at 17, so not really that great, but for now it's fine at the T2. When it comes to the T1 items, same situation as the T2. These items on T1 are overall better than almost anything else, and they are almost always a safe pick. Regardless what you're doing, they will be providing you upgrades, right? For example, the tank items, and why I think that the VV item is kind of useless. 24 cost, 16 cost for a lot of HP, defense, and restoring HP per second based on your max HP. Same for this, 22 cost, giving you 50% HP at 3 stars, and a shield when the round starts to everyone on the same row, right? Another tank item, or a tank depending on who you are using. The Grail of Origins increases the shield by 72%. For Yui, for Vivi, for Gavia, for Chloe, like any character that can have a shield, this is the best item in the game, by the way. Like any character with a shield, this is the best. Vivi with the Grail of Origins plus a healing pendant, it's basically immortal. Unless she's going against math enemies, but she's immortal. So all of the items here are really good. Shout out obviously to the green item that's here, which is the old wooden dagger, which is SP recovery. SP recovery is something that's always valuable. Like any item with SP will be pretty high on the tier list. The one that's only a T2 only is the Chalice of Origins right there, and it's because the other stats it provides are worse than the old wooden dagger and the healing pendant. But SP items are always nice. Your characters using more skills is never something bad. So those are like pretty good items overall in T1. And now let's talk about T0 items and why they are here. First of all, the Dragon Light Sword. If you can get enough dupes, this is stupid. This is an 80% increased attack. For any DPS, this is the best item, as long as you can get obviously dupes, but this is the best item for any DPS because the attack increase is retarded, right? So that's the first thing. The next item that's also really good and it's super versatile is Yumi's Moonflower. Yumi Moonflower will give you crit rate and crit damage, which works for any character. The best thing, obviously, is putting this item on Yumi, but if I get this item, I will put it on my tanks before I put it on Yumi. Because the reduced incoming damage is huge for your tanks. I've been using this on my Vivi and my Chloe, so they can survive longer. And it's been fantastic as well. So it's not only a great item for DPSs, for the crit damage and crit rate, it's the best item for Yumi to provide even more boosts for everyone in your team, but it's also a really good item for tanks because it allows them to be surviving longer. So all in all, really good item. And then the last one is the healing pendant that I want to talk a little bit, because again, SP recovery by 14 per second, and also increases HP healing by 25 at max level. Because HP heal is good for healers or characters with lifesteal. The last item that it's kind of like an in-between on T0 and T1 is Airbeam's Ice Cream. And that's because the Ice Cream is a fantastic item for bossing, but outside of bosses loses some value. This will give you attack and HP, which benefits everyone, but the passive itself, this 54% magical damage increase, only works for one enemy. If you kill one enemy, then this disappears. So for bosses, it's Beast for any magic damage dealer, any. But when it comes to normal waves, it does lose some value because you would only be getting the 22% increased attack. And at that point, you will be better off picking a Dragon Light Sword, maybe picking even a Mithril Knife, or even the Sword and Staff is providing a similar amount of attack, plus attack speed, etc. It depends what you're doing, but outside bosses loses some value. But that's basically the tier list at the moment for the cards, the artifacts, and then obviously the apostles as well. Enough jumping, enough ranting though. We're gonna be live today playing a new gacha game, so if you guys want to come by, say hello, feel free to. If you guys have questions about any specific item, feel free to leave a comment. I will try to answer them between today and tomorrow, and as usual, we are live every single day. Link in the description down below. Good luck with your pool, the internets, and I'll see you in the next one.